What up, though, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. It's True Crime with Tom. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. So today we're going to be revisiting the testimony from Detective Lisa Johnson from the Jarvis Butts preliminary hearing. You guys all know that we're getting closer to that date where the trial is coming, and we all want to see justice and make sure that he gets convicted for sure. One of the testimonies that I'm going to revisit would be from Detective Johnson, who was the one that interrogated him into the in that interview room, but also who was the one who found the information that he did check into the Park Crest Motel on January 9th. Now, there was some confusion as far as the check-in and check-out time and the date as well, too. So I want to go ahead and get the transcript pulled up so I can go ahead and break that down and read it to you guys. Now, during the preliminary hearing, some of her testimony was cut short. Some people may have seen the entirety of it and some may have not. But I'm going to just read the entire testimony from the transcript from both the cross and direct examination and see exactly what we're going to do a deep dive into what her testimony was. All right, so here we go, guys. This is the direct exam by Ms. Ripley, who was the assistant prosecutor on the case working for the state of Michigan. And it says, "Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?" "Good morning, Detective Lisa Johnson. And how are you employed?" She said, "Detroit Police Department." "And how long have you been employed by Detroit Police Department?" She says, 26 years. "And are you assigned to a specific unit or division?" "Right now, homicide cold case," she answers. The court says, "Detective Johnson, can you pull that microphone down so everyone can hear you?" She says, "Thank you." Ms. Ripley asks, "And were you working back in February of 2024 in homicide cold case?" She says, "Yes." "Okay. And did you get the chance to assist in the investigation of, at that time, missing of Naziah Harris?" She says, "I did." "Okay. And I want to take you to the location of 2000 Harper. You were assisting in the investigation, take you to that location?" She says, "Yes." "And what is that location?" "Park Crest Motel." "And do you recall when about you went there?" She said, "Sometime in February." "Okay. And that's in 2024? She said, "Yes." "Yes, ma'am." "And when you went there, what is it that you did?" "We spoke to the clerk that was on duty at the time, and we requested the ledger for January." "And did you receive anything from the ledger from January?" She said, "Yes, we did." "Okay. And what is it that you received?" "There was a sign-in sheet filled out by Mr. Butts." "Okay. And did you take a copy of that sign-in sheet?" She says, "Yes." "Okay. And Your Honor, may I approach with People's Proposed Exhibit 19? The court says yes. Ms. Ripley, thank you. Handing you what has been marked as People Proposed Exhibit 19. Can you tell me, do you recognize what it is I just handed you?" She says, "Yes." "And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the receipt that you received from the Park Crest Inn as it relates to Mr. Butts?" She says, "Yes, it is." Ms. Ripley says, "Your Honor, move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 19. No objection by Mr. Riggins or Ms. Quick." The court says it'll be admitted as People 19. Where we at? "Thank you, Judge. And looking at that receipt, who is it that checked out that room?" "Jarvis R. Butts." "And is there an address associated with that?" She says, "Yes, there is." Without putting the numbers of the address, which street is that on? She says, "Wilshire Drive." "And is there a phone number associated with that person?" She says, "Yes, it is." "And what's that phone number?" And we all know that to be his phone number as they testified through several testimonies through the preliminary. "And what is the date that this hotel room was checked out?" January 9th, 2024. So we have a date of January 9th, 2024. We confirmed that. That's when he checked into the room. "Okay. And is there a room number that was checked out?" She says, "Yes, room 69. "And is there a time that it was checked out?" "It was checked out at 12:30 p.m. And this is where the confusion lies, because it may have been, a mistake with the wordplay, but she said checked out at 12:30 p.m. People are assuming that's afternoon instead of midnight. So the question was, and is there a checkout date? She says, Detective Johnson says, there was a checkout time. Check-in was at 9:30 p.m. So the 12:30 p.m., that was the checkout time is what she says. And the check-in was 9:30 p.m. And okay, thank you. "Did you do anything with this receipt once you received it?" She says, "Yes. We got the receipt and we forwarded it to Sergeant Jones. And was this a physical receipt itself placed on evidence? She says, yes, nothing further, Judge. Court says, okay, cross-examination by Ms. Quick, that would be the defense attorney for Jarvis. Thank you. Detective Johnson, you said that when you went to the Park Crest Motel, you spoke with the clerk. She says, yes. And was that the clerk, or she said, was that clerk the clerk that was there themselves on the 9th? She says, I don't believe so. We spoke with the clerk who forwarded us forwarded us to the manager. We waited on the manager to come in. He brought the receipt out. So I guess Ms. Quick was trying to refute any evidence that Jarvis Butts may have possibly been there by trying to question that particular clerk that gave her the information, which was the ledger. I guess he didn't have a role, but him being an employee of the actual motel, it really wouldn't matter whether or not he was the actual clerk that was there on the 9th or not. He was an actual employee of the establishment, which means he can attest to any documents pertaining to that business, such as the actual ledger. So where we are. She says, did either the clerk or the manager that you spoke with indicate that they had any recollection of seeing Mr. Butts on the 9th? She says, no. Okay, so you just spoke with anybody at the Park Crest Motel who didn't seem to indicate that they had familiarity with Mr. Butts. She says, not for that particular night. A few people said that they may have seen him prior, but not for sure. See, let's zoom in on this particular statement right here. This is very important. And I believe this is where some of them witnesses come from, the 80 plus witnesses that they got on the stand now. She says, not for that particular night. A few people said they may have seen him prior, but not for sure. So there were definitely eyewitnesses at that motel, definitely, or in that area. The same with that Connor, that tire shop or that auto shop on Connors or whatever the hell it is, that they the little hole in the wall on Connors. We know people have seen things over there near the Travel Inn on Gratiot. And I'm kind of curious on what these people, did they bring these people in for questioning? Are they on the witness list? I'm pretty sure they probably did want to question them even after the fact, but I would want to say that those should be on the those individuals that she's speaking of should definitely be on the witness list if they're not. Okay, let's go. Did you get the impression that he was kind of a frequent flyer there? Somewhat, yes. This is a bad cross-examination, Ms. Quick. You're trying to basically convict your client instead of vindicate your client with your question. And she says, did you get the impression that he was a frequent flyer there? So he was a routine customer pretty much. Probably knew the staff, probably got discounts knowing him being a frequent flyer. She says, okay. Did you notice when you were there if there were any cameras in the parking lot or around the door? She says, yes, there were cameras. And then Ms. Quick asks, there's cameras. And where are they located? She says, I can't be specific right now. I know there were cameras in the lobby and there are some outside on the perimeter. No, most likely those cameras are probably wasn't even operating at that time. And if they did anything that they at that time, like when they went back in February of 2024, would have more likely been erased, being over 30 days. And she says, okay, that's all I have. Thank you. Any redirect? Nothing further, Judge. Okay, you're all set. So that was her testimony. Kind of interesting though, like really interesting about those individuals that she says those individuals that claim that they saw Jarvis, but not at that particular time. It was a prior time that they saw him. Where are they now? Where are these individuals? Are they being called to testify? Hopefully they are. Were they even interviewed or interrogated if to some extent? Did y'all interview more than one person at the motel, the entire staff, not just the clerk on duty? Folks do take off days. Folks do quit and leave, and question the former employees that's no longer there, because I know that was 2 years ago, but those are things that you would want to do as well too. But I just wanted to share that testimony with you guys. I gotta say, the timing, 12:30 p.m., it definitely kind of threw me off. but I would want to say she meant midnight, at 12:30 midnight that night. She just didn't frame it that way. Understand? I can't really say what as to why. But we do know that he did check in at that motel on the 9th, and he did check in at 9:30, and he checked out 12:30 at midnight. Is what she's saying. But that's all I got for you guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. You guys have a good one.